She has come here tonight from Chicago, and since we first met her, we have been inspired, very much so, by her charisma and her ability to face the challenges of scleroderma with grace, dignity, and a bit of humor. Lisa is a wife, mother, and a teacher. As well, she is an author, a blogger, and she shares her patient experience through public speaking engagements. Please welcome a remarkable person I'm very proud to introduce, Lisa Goodman-Helfand.
Thank you so much. I have to tell you that when Amy Hewitt called and asked me to speak tonight, I was super excited because I thought this would finally be my big break to open for comedians like Bill Bellamy and George Lopez, and I would finally be able to showcase my very, very undiscovered and possibly completely imaginary talent for comedy. But in all seriousness, of course, Amy called and asked for me to speak tonight to offer you a patient perspective on living with scleroderma, and I'm very appreciative to her and Bob for asking me to do so. So I was actually diagnosed with scleroderma when I was 10 years old. It was way back in 1985, long before you could Google anything you wanted to know about any horrific disease you had. So all I knew about scleroderma was what my mom told me, which was that my skin was tighter than everybody else's. My mom didn't tell me what the future might hold, or that I would develop telangiectasia, which are red spots all over my body. She didn't tell me that my legs and my arms would become somewhat deformed. She also didn't tell me that I would develop calcinosis on all of my joints, and they would leak calcium all over the place, like my social studies diorama in 7th grade. And she certainly didn't tell me that adolescence was going to be a little bit rocky, since not everybody thought that the girl leaking calcium onto her diorama was like super cool. So but I did not grasp the gravity of scleroderma until 1993, when I was home from spring vacation my freshman year of college, and it was determined at that time my lung capacity had been significantly diminished. And the doctor recommended that I check into the hospital, drop out of college, and seek very intensive treatment to stop further progression of scleroderma. And I looked at this doctor and I said, "What are you talking about? I just have tighter skin than everybody else. You don't die from scleroderma. Do people die from scleroderma?" Well, clearly I was not a pre-med major, and the doctor looked at me and she informed me that if my disease continued to progress, that most patients with systemic scleroderma do not survive more than 7 years due to the toll it takes on their internal organs. After some more research, which basically in 1993 was, the 7 articles I could find at the local library for microfiche, I learned that my situation was really far more serious than tight skin. And I was very convinced that I was going to die. And I was very convinced that I was never going to become an elementary school teacher, get married, have kids, travel, do anything like a typical normal person would do. I had no idea that Sharon Monsky had founded the Scleroderma Research Foundation, and that she was working so tirelessly to help patients navigate through this disease. But luckily, we went to a second doctor, and that doctor told me to try a new medication first and see if that would stabilize my scleroderma. I remained stable for 13 years, and I was able to become an elementary school teacher. I was able to marry my awesome husband, so much. This isn't even the good part of the story yet. I was able to remain stable through my first pregnancy, through the birth of my son, and through my second pregnancy. And in 2006, after the very healthy birth of my daughter, I suffered catastrophic and very grave side effects from scleroderma and the birth of my daughter. And I spent the first 218 days of my daughter's life in the hospital. Many nights my family was told I wasn't going to make it through the night. And it was absolutely devastating to lie there and think that I may never get to see my kids again, much less get home to raise them. So I'm very happy to report to you that 10 years later, after a lot of physical therapy and respiratory therapy and speech therapy and occupational therapy, my scleroderma is once again stable. And so I can stand up here tonight and give you my story and talk to you about all the pain I'm in and how hard it is for me to live with scleroderma. But the bottom line is, after 31 years with this disease, I am living with scleroderma, not dying from it. And sadly, that is not the case for many, many scleroderma patients. Many of whom I know personally through chat groups and through face-to-face connections. And these patients and their families, that is why we are here tonight. Many of them are living on borrowed time. They are chained to oxygen tanks. They are chained to feeding tubes. They are trying to navigate through their medical bills. They are trying not to go to the emergency room or be checked into the hospital. And it is for them that we really need the cure.